Christian researcher and author Dave Hunt commented in his book Occult Invasion that Satanist leader Michael Aquino stated with conviction on the Oprah Winfrey Show, "We are not servants of some god, we are our own gods." In at least partial agreement, Kenneth Copeland and Paul Crouch, like Shirley MacLaine, insist on TBN that they are indeed gods. "You are a little god," declare Copeland and Benny Hinn on TBN. "I am a little god," exalts Paul Crouch on international television, and condemns to hell the heresy hunters who say this teaching isn't biblical.
I am God. I am. Look, if I'm God, what does that make you?
Well, we always see in others what we see in ourselves. I am God. I am God.
I am God.
I am God.
I am God. I am God.
I am God.
I am God. I am God.
Don't be deceived, you know. He appears, we're told that in Scripture, in 2 Corinthians 11, I believe, that he is an angel of light. So it's no wonder that his ministers masquerade as ministers of righteousness.
This rebellion against God was even seen among the writings of Karl Marx. Even among the most unlikely sources, the influence of the adversary of mankind is felt. Believed to be an atheist, as present-day Marxists tend to be, but his writings suggest otherwise. This is highlighted in the book Marx and Satan by Reverend Richard Wurmbrand. Marx wrote in one of his early poems, "Then I will be able to walk triumphantly, like a god, through the ruins of their kingdom. Every word of mine is fire in action. My beast is equal to that of the Creator." In another poem, called The Player, later downplayed by Marxists, he stated the following: "The hellish vapors rise and fill the brain, till I go mad and my heart is utterly changed. See this sword? The Prince of Darkness sold it to me. For me he beats the time and gives the signs. Ever more boldly I play the dance of death." Then in his poem The Pale Maiden, "Thus heaven I forfeited. I know it full well, my soul once true to God is chosen for hell."
And it is, it's not just a matter of theological opinion, it is hatred against the God of the Bible and hatred against our Lord Jesus Christ. And that's entirely what they mean. I used to think that when the kings write out, because you go to Revelation 19 and you read, it says, "And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him who sat on the horse," Jesus. I used to think, well, they're probably just out fighting and they don't realize they're fighting against Jesus. But the more I studied these secret societies and what they're doing, the more I'm convicted they know exactly what they're doing. Maybe not all, I can't say all Masons and all Rosicrucians, but many of these guys who are in positions of leadership, they know exactly what they're doing.
A Nobel Prize winner has described the brain as, quote, "a machine that a ghost can operate," unquote. What that means is, in an altered state of consciousness, the connection between my spirit that normally operates my brain and my brain is loosened, and that allows another spirit being to interpose itself, begin to tick off the neurons in the brain, create an entire universe of illusion, astral travel, give psychic powers. In this way, the world is being prepared for some ultimate delusion.
Sheep to a slaughter, most of us here, and we've failed to recognize the nature and the actual agenda of the New World Order, which is a spiritual agenda, apparently. Even out of their own mouths, it's a spiritual agenda. That these beings are desiring the world order. They're playing the people just to get them to spread the message.
And that's mainly to get in touch with yourself, that there's a higher self, and that there's a certain pathway to getting there. Some people are into meditation, other people are into yoga, some people find chiropractic important, other people find homeopathy important, and it's just really interesting to see how they're all interconnected.
Why are you at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival this evening?
Well, I work with mind, body, and spirit in my work, so I like to contribute and share and with other people who are interested in that kind of thing.
In what ways do you work with the mind, body, and spirit?
I do healing work, and I have a children's program up in Mount Shasta, where it's a holistic program, so it's mind, body, spirit, work with music and dance and relaxation and healing, things like that.
Why is a festival like this important? Because we need to have direction, you know. The ways we've been, the old way is longer fit with today's, what people want today. We can't do it the old way, we need new ways.
The most exciting time, I think, in the whole history of mankind, when we can either destroy ourselves or move into a new and wonderful golden age.
We are raising an entire generation of children under the bombardment of cartoons and television shows and fantasy role-playing games and movies that are telling them that the occult and Eastern philosophy is a wonderful thing, not something to be afraid of, not something ugly and fearful, but something beautiful with the darling reptilian creatures with the great psychic powers that are drawing these children into an acceptance of things that are dangerous beyond anyone's comprehension.
Have all the stuff going on in Hollywood. Look at most of the movies that are coming out at the moment. Look at the programs that are on TV. Stargate, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dark Angel. Look at all the movies. Avatar, Taken. They're all occultic, they're all spiritual, they're all about vampires, they're all about werewolves, about contacting the dead, about beings coming down from heaven to earth, communicating, ETs, extraterrestrials, aliens, all this stuff, the books, Twilight, what all these things are doing is they're conditioning and brainwashing the whole of the human race to prepare them.
With the move away from traditional morals accelerating in Western society and the growth of skepticism towards monotheistic religions, it has not left a spiritual vacuum like some might believe. Due to the move away from absolutes, this generation has embraced postmodern thought. In this worldview, there is no right or wrong. There are no absolutes, as many have rejected God and the Bible.
Postmodernism is a mood much more than it is a kind of an organized movement. Postmodernism was at the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve said, "Has God really said?" What did postmodernism do? It questioned propositional truth. Does a statement really mean what it says, or do you fuse your own meaning into any statement? So postmodernism questioned verbal authority. That's where it all began. You don't leave the authority with the author, the authority goes to the reader. So you can read a book and you become sovereign over the author. That's exactly what happened at the Garden of Eden. They wanted to play as God. So postmodernism is actually quite pre-ancient. The thing is this, there was only one prohibition, only one. In the day that you eat of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, you shall surely die. And we were told not to eat of that, because in the day we would eat of that, we would be as God, knowing good and evil. What it really meant was we would redefine good and evil. You and I don't have the right to do that. The moment you and I redefine good and evil and we come up with two different definitions, whose good is going to trump the other person's good? That's exactly what has happened in our culture today.
The person essentially embraces their own morality, creating their own rules, in a sense, becoming their own God. This has opened the door to occult practices being reintroduced to society and being repackaged in Western, scientific, and even Christian terms. Techniques in the field of human medicine, today considered as science, especially in the field of psychology. Consider the following quote from Herbert Benson, MD, Harvard professor. "The shaman can be viewed as an early psychotherapist." Highly influential Masonic author and occult philosopher Manly P. Hole stated the following: "There is abundant evidence that in many forms of modern thought, especially in so-called prosperity psychology, willpower building, and the systems of high-pressure salesmanship, black magic has merely passed through a metamorphosis, and although its name may be changed, its nature remains the same." In 1931, the Occult Digest stated the following: "There is a great awakening sweeping over the world today. There are times when one fully believes that we are entering a new and more complete age, into the sunlight of old knowledge made new."
And The way it's been marketed is to make oneself better, and everything inside of us as human beings, we want to be better people. We strive for achievement, we strive for higher grades, we strive for, to do our best. And the same thing happens spiritually, but the way that spirituality is being packaged in America is not being done in a religious way. So for instance, in corporations or businesses, they are putting forward a spiritual concept to businessmen and corporate America by inviting the hierarchy to go for better management courses. But actually, those better management courses are spiritual self-hypnosis and indoctrination into a whole Eastern worldview, into a whole spiritual concept that is contrary to biblical traditional values.
Another repackaged technique is that of yoga. In the past few decades, in the Western world, it has been seen as merely physical exercise. But that is not the case.
The word means basically to yoke, union. The goal of the Hindu is to be yoked with Brahman. Brahman is the Hindu concept of God, the all or the absolute. Yoga is in many ways the heart of Hinduism. There is no Hinduism without yoga, and there is no yoga without Hinduism.
Carol Matriciana, who was born and raised in India, the homeland of Hinduism, Eastern mysticism, and guru worship, stated the following in her book, Gods of the New Age, on the importance of yoga to Hindu philosophy. Yoga, a practice synonymous with Hindu philosophy, means to yoke. Its goal is to unite man with Brahman, the Hindu concept of God, or rather, the consciousness called the God state. She discusses later in the book how the Western world has become entangled in Eastern mysticism, something that is commonly referred to as the New Age movement. The traditional purpose of the Indian ashram has always been to teach people how to die through yoga meditation. It has only been since the 1960s that the Beatles-inspired young Westerners have flooded the ashrams, sitting spellbound at the guru's feet. Today, reincarnation, divination, yoga, tarot cards, many aspects of the occult, once thought of as being morally and spiritually dangerous, are now commonplace in Western society. This current day obsession with the occult has without doubt been fueled by the media and pop culture. This growth has been increasingly noticed by some researchers, leading some, such as Christian author Dave Hunt, to make the following comment in the 1980s. Today's world confronts a strange and growing paradox that could well make a pivotal point in human history. Even as the scientific and technological advancement which usher in the space age is accelerating at an exponential rate, we are witnessing far and away the greatest occult explosion of all time. Former best-selling New Age author Randall N. Baer, who turned from the occult after a horrific spiritual encounter, he describes in his book Inside the New Age Nightmare about his experiences in the New Age or the occult and how he was set free from this bondage through faith in Jesus Christ. He stated in the late 1980s that the New Age movement needs to be understood as one of the fastest growing uprisings of the end times powerful delusion occurring in the world today. In fact, it has expanded with explosive diversification in the last 3 decades to a much greater extent than many realize. Today's rapid growth of the New Age phenomenon is nothing less than a major branch of the prophesied latter-day rise of the Antichrist forces. It is in this context that the most penetrating insights into the greatest deceptions and dangers of the movement are seen.